Yeah, thanks, Katie. We're out on South 6 and Bowie. We're just taking a look at some of this disaster that's going on right now. You can see that a lot of the roofs are blown off from the storm last night. I just got here about an hour ago, and when I got here, everything was piled in front of all of the houses. And now you can see people from the community, the city, have really stepped up to help out their neighbors. And some of them I've even talked to just walked on by and decided to start helping, which really attests to what the Abilene community is all about, kind of helping one another. You can see all of this pile. This was actually part of a garage that was attached to this house back here. You can see it's just really a foundation right now. And just how bad these winds are. If you want to take a look up in this tree, you can see that plywood that flew in. I know we had a few mattresses in trees earlier around South Abilene as well. Obviously, a lot of people stepping up to help out one another here in South Abilene. We're going to see if we can maybe talk to somebody around here. Let's see if we can try and go over here.
We heard you had bombs. You said, don't all dope cooks have bombs?
Hi. Can you tell me?
Yeah, we got that live. So we're talking about a guy that we know.
If you want to tell me a little bit about, what you're doing here, helping out. I understand this is one of your buddy's houses.
Absolutely. This is my buddy Wes Mantooth. It's his dad's house, and just found out that they were hit pretty hard, so we decided to come over here and help them out.
I mean, was it even a second thought when you got the call to come over and
Absolutely
start
not.
helping?
No way. I mean, and we want to be here to help the community, and it's pretty awesome to see everybody pulling together and coming to help, and the city stepping up, and just being here to help everybody out.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
What time did you get here this morning? If you want to explain a little bit about what you saw when you got here.
Oh, I don't know. When I got here, it was just I don't know the time. It was 9:30 or 10, somewhere in there, and it was complete devastation. I mean, this whole complete yard right here was full. The roof from that house was all piled up against the front of Bob's house. And it was terrible. Just the walk over here from walking from South 3rd. I mean, just everybody. I mean, cars and people's houses and windows blown out and roofs, and it's just terrible.
Now, do you live in this part of town?
No, ma'am. I'm far South Abilene.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what your experience was with the storm last night. Did you wake up at all to it?
I woke up to some thunder and lightning. Never knew that any of this was going on. My phone went off and the battery died, so I had no clue. Never turned the TV on. I think my mother-in-law sent my fiance a text and told her that they were under a tornado warning, and neither one of us saw it until this morning. So,
so I mean, thinking it was just thunder and lightning last night, and then coming here and seeing all of this, what was your reaction?
Oh, I was just in complete shock. My heart, hurt for all these people. It's just terrible what they're having to go through, and see Bob. This is his house, been here for years. It's just heartbreaking.
Tell me a little bit about who's all here. I mean, do you guys even know any of these people?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of us. This guy, he just walked up. He's not even dirty. Yeah, no, I know a lot of these people. You got Harry Root, been here, tattoo artist in this town for years, and just, I don't know, just Wes's whole family,
Yeah. And how do you guys move forward from this? I mean, obviously you guys are cleaning up pretty quickly this morning.
Sure. I mean, hopefully the insurance steps up and takes care of him, and and we'll be over here to help him rebuild, do whatever we got to do. Move his stuff out, get his house secure, and try to preserve what we can.
Thank you so much. What's your first and last name?
Michael Cloud.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Thank you
nice
so
to meet
much
you.
for talking to
Appreciate
us.
you guys.
Obviously a lot of devastation here and just pure out shock. I mean, I'm from California, so this is really my first instance with a tornado hitting anything, and coming out here and seeing all of this devastation is really shocking. Not only to people from out of the state like me, but people in the state that live straight in Abilene. I mean, look at all of this damage out here. I actually walked down the street a little bit, and what's interesting is it's almost every other house that it hit. I mean, there's a few houses in a row here, but you can see this house barely got touched, and then this house, the roof is completely off. So we still got people out here. Everything's pretty much getting cleaned up at the moment, but we'll send it on back to you guys at the studio. Reporting from South Abilene, Jessica Rank, KRBC, Abilene's local news.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
Well, obviously a lot of debris out there right now, and if you have any of that debris in your yard, the Abilene Brush Center has extended hours, open today until 8 p.m. If you're trying to do some of that cleanup efforts, they also have extended hours in Monday and all through next week too. But we had to take that live shot quick this morning because you saw all of those volunteers out there helping.
And getting to work.
So fast. It's incredible to see the response that Abilene has made so far.
Absolutely. And I was driving down South 1st Street. I saw some businesses that were torn up and windows blown out. I just saw trucks I was like, all right, we're getting together and we're getting up and going to help these businesses out. I saw the electrical trucks. I know that was a big issue this morning with a lot of power outages coming to the rescue for these restaurants and businesses and homes.
Right.
And it's not the way you want to spend your Saturday.
No, not at all. Well, first thing is there's been no confirmed tornado, at least just yet. The National Weather Service saying earlier that it might have been straight line winds, but I'm sure they'll send a team up here to survey some of that damage. So officially not quite a tornado yet, but I'm sure we will hear from that later either this weekend or into next week.
Absolutely. But KRBC News has spoken with people who say they saw a tornado. Damage is widespread from just outside Dice Air Force Base to around South 7th and Winters Freeway. Across the freeway into the neighborhood there and then through North Abilene, heavy rain and high wind worked its way from Lake Fort Phantom and then went into Shackelford and Stevens counties. Now, Grant, can you tell me a little bit about that area? Because I know you've been covering this all morning.
That's right. We watched that storm move through western parts of Abilene into the northwest sides and then up into the Lake Fort Phantom area. So it was really a wide swath of an area on western Abilene, up into northwestern Abilene, and then again up into the Lake Fort Phantom area that were really impacted at least by this potential tornado around the Abilene area. But then, of course, there were other possible other confirmed tornadoes around the Big Country too.
And many homes and businesses are, of course, affected. There's not an exact number of how many homes are damaged. That's still being counted. But the Abilene Police and Fire Departments were going door to door in the affected areas to check on anyone who may be damaged or whose homes may be damaged. Excuse me. So far, several people who were trapped inside their homes have been rescued. We have no reports of severe injuries or anything of that nature. And we'll get to more of that coverage in just a few minutes. But here's Dylan. First look at our weather. Dylan, what can you tell us so far?
Well, I can tell you this, that most of the storms have moved out of the area for the most part. Again, looking out west and out east, that line is simply moving off into the Metroplex. So behind it, we're looking at basically what I told you last night after that line moves through, clear skies for us here in the Big Country for the afternoon hours. And again, that line is now moving out of the area. But I want to take a rewind back to some of those storms that came through with Abilene. We had a couple of tornadoes down south in Ballinger and Coleman counties, not Ballinger, but Runnels County and Coleman County. Outside right now, clear blue skies for the most part, 78 degrees. Let's take a look at that Abilene storm. Rewind back to about 5:30 this morning. This storm was just starting to build right south of Abilene. As it did get closer, it started to gain strength, get a little bit more of a circulation, more of a structure of a typical supercell for, again, here in the Big Country. And right here is basically where we saw that rotation. As it moved to the north, it pretty much popped on top of Abilene. That tornado warning came at 5:45 this morning. And again, the areas that were most affected, here's South 7th here, and here's Danville. So right in here, that's where most of that damage occurred. So as we scale this forward again, 5:45, that tornado warning was issued, and shortly after that, a lot of the strong winds hit the western part of the city. Here's that area of really well-defined rotation. We call this a hook echo. That's where we see that tornado generally in these storms. As it moved off to the north and east, it did impact, as you saw, all the damage in the western parts of the key city. That's where we saw most of that damage come from. Now, again, no confirmed tornado from this. The National Weather Service right now calling it a straight-line wind event, but some of the things that we have seen make us believe that we might have seen a brief touchdown at least here in the key city, but that's not confirmed yet by the National Weather Service. As this continued to move off to the north, impact certainly saw some damage, and as it moved further to the north, talking about Lake Fort Phantom Hill, right there along 277 and 351. Here's the rotation again about 6 a.m. as it moves further off to the north and east. It did start to fall apart after that once it got around Lake Fort Phantom Hill and a little bit further north, but generally it was a very powerful storm. We saw lots of wind, did see some hail in parts of the key city as well. You saw all the damage. It could have been a tornado, but right now not confirmed with that. So just be aware of that. We'll be waiting on the National Weather Service reports over the next day or two. Maybe we'll see it later on today. But I also want to go down a little bit further south. So fast forward a little bit, but still well before now. 6:45 a.m. Another storm coming out of San Angelo. This one had a very large confirmed tornado with it. It's actually started out near Miles, and as it did, it pushed off to the northeast. And with it, it did damage areas of Ballinger. I believe we had a water tower damage. It flooded the streets. Schools were damaged as well. So this one was pushing off to the northeast. And here is that rotation as it did move closer closer to the city of Ballinger. It was a very strong, powerful tornado. They said considerable damage possible from this storm. And again, no ratings have been issued for the tornado, but this one was confirmed by viewers as well as storm chasers. So you can see that rotation just south of Abilene, of Ballinger, and actually did clip parts of the city of Ballinger. And it did move further off to the north. Here's Renoit. And it continued to push off further closer to Novice and Winters. But that rotation did weaken a little bit after it left this city of Ballinger and moved a little bit further off to the northeast. So this is about 8 a.m. You don't really see much of that rotation there, but could still see something right there, right around 153 and 62. So that's that storm. And then behind that one, we had another confirmed tornado, basically along the same storm, same pattern. This is about 8:30 in the morning. Another hook echo starting to form. That's where that tornado formed and moved off into Coleman County. Another, again, large confirmed tornado via the National Weather Service wordings there. That moved off to the north and east, closer to Rowden and Opland, but that hook echo there, very well defined. There was a confirmed tornado with that one as well, and that one, I'm not sure if it caused much damage because it was mostly over rural areas, but as it did move out, the tornado finally started to weaken about 8:45 to 9, and then it all just started becoming part of another really strong squall line for the eastern half of the big country. And after that, I believe that was our last confirmed tornado heading into the morning hours. And now we're seeing pretty much quiet weather here in the big country. That's good news. Now we have to deal with the damage we've seen, and we are trying to do that and trying to keep you guys informed with what's coming up. We are keeping our eyes on Monday. I'll have a look at Monday's forecast here in a few minutes, but first, let's send it back over to you guys.
Damage in Abilene is very concentrated to the southern part of town, but it is severe nonetheless. Go ahead and take a look at this video here, shot from a drone by one of our viewers. We obviously thank our viewers for this content. It shows the extent of damage, and pretty much actually that on your screen is a U-Haul that was blown over. I'm sorry for technical difficulties here. It was a U-Haul blown over across from Winters Freeway. You heard more about this than I did, Greg.
That's right. We'll see this in the drone video too when it pops up here. But part of that damaged track went through the U-Haul facility. There's that nursing home there right on South 7th. That's where that track of the storm really went through. And on that side of the freeway too, we actually found that U-Haul vehicle, which was blown over from the other side of the freeway. So that's kind of one of the things that, you know, the storm surveyors will be looking at to kind of rate that storm damage. But as this drone video continues to go, you see just the wreckage from some of those homes there, the damage that has been done to some of them. You see all their personal belongings, this wood, even complete and whole roofs are missing, and you can just peer into these homes from the sky because they just don't simply have any roof on them. But, you know, again, like we talked about earlier, it's incredible just to see all the people out there working. I assume this video just shot a few hours after the potential or possible tornado or straight line winds, whatever it may be, that moved through this morning. And you can see all the damage there too, but you just notice the heap of volunteers helping to rebuild these people's lives already. It's really quite incredible. And just seeing some of that video there of cars just covered in wood and belongings and blankets and sheet metal and and insulation. It's really quite incredible to see this kind of damage coming from our own town. You know, we really haven't seen a major tornado or a tornado period hit the city of Abilene in decades, I believe. So it really is historic damage in terms of whether it is straight line winds or whether it was tornado. But you know, we're going to be talking about this too for years, decades to come. And we always talk about that hailstorm that hit during the Calf Festival in 2014, and this is just going to be another one of those events too where we're always, like, you know, looking back on it, remember that day.
Absolutely. And what about this rain damage? Was there any kind of severe flooding or flash flooding that came in that may have affected some communities?
For sure, of course. You know, we see a couple drops of rain and the streets flood here in Abilene, it seems like. But yeah, you know, flooding, a big concern. It's been a while since a lot of us have seen rain, at least for about 5 hours for some of us out there. So that flash flooding concern definitely going down. But it's definitely something to be aware of. We've seen our fair share of rain here in the past month or two, and even going back all the way to October. And you could just see again from this drone video just how green everything is. So that water runs off pretty quickly. But we continue to watch this drone video because it just takes your breath away seeing some of this damage out there. And you know, Dylan was saying on his way back into work, a lot of these homes already have tarps over them, so they are not wasting any time trying to put their lives back together, and it's really just incredible to see the response that we've made so far.
All right.
Well, we also heard from Mayor Anthony Williams this morning and Emergency Crisis Coordinator Jim Bryant to get the latest word from the city and what they need in terms of help.
We would like to ask them to show up if they have a skill set that we need rather than just showing up.
I did sign a declaration of disaster earlier that will provide an opportunity, if needed, down the road to possibly secure funds from the state and also the federal government.
And of course, calls have been pouring in for safety concerns. We spoke with Scott Hill of the Abilene Police Department just to give us a rundown of what people can expect if they are trying to give help to others in their community, especially with all of the safety concerns such as power outages and electrical wires down. We also saw a tweet just a few minutes ago from the Abilene Police Department. They are saying they no longer need volunteers, that they've had so much help that they are actually calling off for any kind of help in that matter. But of course, there are other ways that you can help. The Community Foundation of Abilene is asking for donations to help those that were affected by this storm.
And we have that link on our website too, if you are so inclined to help out with those that are in need.
Absolutely. And now we turn to Scott Hill to give that response that he gave earlier this morning about the damage.
I would like to encourage any residents that live in the area, anybody that wants to come out and sightsee, please stay out of the area.
All right, and now we're going to go back to Dylan just for another quick assessment of what we can expect.
That's right. We are looking ahead to Monday. We have actually kind of a historic day coming up, possibly for Monday, because of what's been issued by the National Weather Service. So I have a look at what to expect possibly. So that line right now is moving out of the area, and we're looking at a sunny rest of the day. So it'll be a beautiful afternoon to take care of what you need to. If you're one of the areas affected, again, you won't have to deal with any more rain for the rest of today. So that is some good news there. However, moving into Saturday, Sunday, looking relatively quiet for tomorrow as well. Beautiful day again, but moving into Monday. Monday is going to be the trigger day that we are looking at for possibly strong to severe storms. This will be more of an afternoon evening storm system coming through, and as we do, we could see definitely some large hail and some strong winds, but also possibility for tornadoes is there as well. Not just a small risk like last night. This one will actually be a little bit more considerable simply due to the mode expected for us. So this will be similar to last night, where we're kind of expecting right now a squall line type sort of storms as it pushes through the area. Could see some storms pop up in front of that like we did last night. That could cause, again, kind of like what we saw today, the more discrete supercells in front of that line. That could spawn those tornadoes like we saw today. Now moving into the evening hours on Tuesday, that clears out, and we're looking at actually a pretty nice afternoon and evening again for Tuesday. But we do have actually an enhanced risk for almost the entire big country, even the far northern counties. This is a moderate risk. Not only is this a moderate risk, but this is a day 3 moderate risk. We usually don't issue those until the day of or maybe day 2, but this is a day 3. This is not issued very often. That is including King and Knox County for Monday. Now the rest of the big country, like last night, we were under that enhanced risk. That is coming back again on Monday, something to keep in mind. So possibly more strong to severe storms for Monday. And then the heartland and the southeastern counties again under that slight risk. So that is something we are watching. We have issued another severe weather alert day for Monday and possibly even into Tuesday, depending on the timing of it. But just be aware, possibly more storms on Monday and Tuesday. And then we're looking at temperatures staying relatively consistent over the next several days. Guys.
Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, Dylan. Well, we have more video coming in this morning from the tornado that happened down in the Ballinger area this morning. That was a large and dangerous tornado that moved through parts of Reynolds County. Actually, this is video here from some of that damage we had in Abilene earlier. You can see some of that. A trailer flipped over there, some sheet metal thrown around. Obviously, some damage coming in. I believe that's still around that South 7th area. And here is that video of the Ballinger tornado sent from a viewer down there. Obviously, this was a very big, very large, dangerous tornado that moved through that area, and it even hit parts of Ballinger, at least damaged parts of the city of Ballinger, including the high school there. The water tower was damaged within the city of Ballinger. Even saw video and pictures of that water tower spewing water and onto city streets and flooding some of those city streets. The baseball field, heard, was destroyed within there. But good news is, it's really been the case across the entire big country so far, as even though we've had these confirmed tornado reports, really no reports of any major injuries or, thank God, no deaths either. So that's definitely been some good news out there. But again, this video of that tornado down in Ballinger really just jaw-dropping and just really showing some of that intense, powerful strength of nature for sure.
Absolutely. And those weren't, of course, those weren't the only storms. We had storms in Jones County, Haskell, Shackelford, Callahan, Coleman, Eastland, and Brown County. So all across the big country, people were getting hit.
Yeah.
And there have also been a lot of reports of water over roads across the entire big country in the heartland. It apparently swept through just the entire big country.
It dropped a lot of rain very quickly. Some places seeing over 2 inches of rain in just a short amount of time. So flooding a big concern. Again, I just want to show you this drone video because it is just powerful seeing some of that damage and the help out there that people are providing to those who have already seen who have seen some of that tornado damage. Now, of course, taking these precautions, we want you to stay home. It's really a sight to see some of this damage we've seen around town. But try to avoid these areas. A lot of the streets are closed, and that's really for your benefit and these people's benefit so that they can start to rebuild their lives, pick up the pieces after this devastation that we've seen so far this morning. But again, it's really just a blessing that nobody has been severely hurt. We haven't seen any deaths out there. It's really some good news. But another thing we got to be careful about too is you see all of those electrical poles too. Obviously, we're probably seeing some downed wires with that. So if you see any downed wires or any downed electrical poles, never drive across them. Half of the times they're still hot, they're still electric, and you could get yourself killed, touching those or driving over those. So it's just another thing you have to be careful for. And like Dylan said, we still have that severe weather threat that's going to come again next Monday. And so this threat for severe weather is going to stay fresh in our mind. We told you to take your tornado precautions all morning long, and it's important for you to continue to take your tornado precautions as we head into Monday and know where your safe spot is.
Absolutely. And now we go to
an AAP map. This is showing the electrical outages we've seen here across the big country. This is a look at that map right now on your screen. That'll be coming up here right soon. These are some of the electricity outages that we've already seen, or that we're seeing right now rather, across Abilene. There's a look at that map. You can go visit that map yourself as well. But you can see that most of the areas that are seeing those power outages are mainly across the western half of Abilene, which is again where we saw most of that storm damage. And this morning, when we even had a power outage hit here at the KRBC studios, we were without power for about 5 minutes or so. And I stepped out the back door on Facebook Live. I caught it all there on video, but it was incredible looking out to the north, getting this all on Facebook Live, and you could just see these power flashes up in the air. It was really quite a haunting scene because everything was pitch black, and you could just see the power flashes left and right going up in the air, and even some electrical sparks. And again, here's some of that video.
And yeah, this is the devastation from the Alameda neighborhood. Of course, this is in an older neighborhood, but on the north side of town. But you can see all of the wreckage there. Roofs were blown off. That's a metal roof there that was blown off. So, and of course, like Grant said, those electrical outages, you can see that car there, the windows are busted out, just wreckage absolutely everywhere. And we're so thankful that there are no injuries. Again, that's what's incredible about this entire event is the amount of damage and the amount of lives that were able to be saved. So.
Yeah, here's another video of this is from Reagan Elementary. These look like some of those portable school buildings there, if I'm correct. You can just see the walls completely torn off of them, obviously not able to withstand a tornado or straight line winds, whatever the event was, but you can just see some of that devastation. And again, like I mentioned before, it's really almost difficult to see some of these images come out of our hometown and seeing, people's lives interrupted like this and destroyed sometimes, completely just devastation out there. And here's more video of Don Juan Street.
Don Juan Street, right in South Abilene. You can see the tree has knocked down the entire right part of that roof. There's trees everywhere. Good grief.
And another thing is that I made this observation earlier is, Don Juan and Pioneer, that's only a few blocks away from the KRBC studios. I'm not an official surveyor from the National Weather Service, but we're seeing such difference in devastation in just a couple blocks. It does make me wonder if it was a tornado as opposed to straight line winds. But again, that's something we'll find out later. So before we head out there, let's take another look at Dylan. Dylan, what can you tell us?
Well, let's talk about what's going on right now here in the big country. And the good news is not a lot. Those storms are now making their way off to the eastern areas of Texas as we move into the next few hours. We're staying very quiet. Here's a look at our tower cam. 78 degrees outside. It's going to be a beautiful rest of the day. So if you were affected by this, the good news is there's no rain to kind of add insult to injury for the rest of the day or even tomorrow. We're looking at a very sunny afternoon for that. But let's take a rewind back to whenever that storm did hit Abilene and all this damage did occur. So it's about 5:30 in the morning. That storm is essentially right on top of Abilene, but the problem is it doesn't get strong down south. It basically pops right on top of Abilene and the Key City, and that's when we start to see this thing, what we call wrap up. We have that tornado signature there, that hook echo signature on this supercell storm that is moving. Again, here's Abilene, here's Ty. That signature is right on the western areas of the Key City. As we take a closer look, that tornado warning was issued at 5:45 this morning. Here's South 7th, here is Danville Road and Winters Freeway, and that's that storm, at least what we're thinking is a tornado, but it could still just be straight line winds. We're waiting on the National Weather Service to confirm that, if they will at all. But as we take another step in time, 5:45, here is a very well-defined hook echo. You see that big old hook. Here's that area of rotation, and as it moved into Abilene, at least the western areas of the Key City, we did see a lot of those power lines. You saw that power line map. They were all pretty much around South 7th, and as we track this storm to the northeast, here's impact right here. That storm, you can see the path of damage just on that electrical outage map, the western all the way to the northern parts of the Key City, as we did see lots and lots of strong storms, strong winds from this tornado, possible but not confirmed yet. The damage has been devastating to look at, so stay tuned for the latest on that. We'll be keeping you updated on all that's to come as well. Monday, remember, we're expecting more severe weather here in the Big Country. Guys.
Thanks, Dylan.
All right, well, just to recap everything so far, of course, we have 2 confirmed tornado reports from across the Big Country. That first one was down near the Ballinger area, the other one in Coleman County, just northwest rather of Coleman. It went through some pretty rural areas. And then, of course, this other area here in Abilene where we're seeing that drone video once again. Not confirmed tornado quite yet, but of course, I'm sure National Weather Service crews from St. Angelo will be up here surveying some of that damage because Mayor Anthony Williams, of course, has signed that disaster declaration, meaning we're trying to free up some of that funds to try and help rebuild some of these homes and some of the areas damaged by these storms. So, you know, we were here all morning watching it. It was really quite an incredible experience, especially just watching the power outages go out across Abilene. You know, things eerily quiet, and stepping outside and just hearing this roar of the wind of whatever it was, and it just being pitch black, and then seeing sparks fly in the air is really quite a haunting scene.
You're right, exactly. It was very eerie. You could hear the winds. It was one of those things that they didn't stop gaining in pitch until they got quiet. So, you know, that was my really first close call with a possible tornado, and it was definitely something I'll remember. So again, very eerie. So I'm glad we were